Educational report, fighting an account-stated claim. Introduction to account-stated claims. Junk debt buyers frequently file lawsuits for account-stated claims. These claims typically involve old, stale credit card debt that the debt buyer claims to have purchased from the original credit card company. An account-stated claim is a legal concept where one party sends a bill, and the other party fails to object to it within a reasonable time. The failure to object creates an implicit agreement that the amount due is correct. This makes it easier for debt buyers to pursue claims without needing to prove the original contract or the terms of the debt. Footnote: Junk debt buyers commonly use account-stated claims because they are easier to prove than breach of contract claims, which require proof of the original agreement and its terms. What plaintiffs must prove in an account-stated claim. For a plaintiff to succeed in an account-stated claim, they must prove several key elements. Business relationship. There must be evidence of a business relationship between the parties, such as a credit card account or loan agreement. Unpaid balance. The plaintiff must show there is an unpaid balance on the account, typically through monthly billing statements. No objection. The plaintiff must prove that the borrower did not object to the statements within a reasonable time, thus implying agreement. Transfer of the account. If the plaintiff is a junk debt buyer, they must also prove the transfer of the debt from the original lender to them, showing that they have the right to enforce the claim. Footnote: Plaintiffs in account-stated claims must establish a business relationship, prove an unpaid balance, demonstrate that no objections were raised, and in the case of a junk debt buyer, prove the legitimate transfer of the debt. The role of billing statements in account-stated claims. A critical element in an account-stated claim is the rendering of a statement, which means sending a billing statement to the borrower. The plaintiff must prove that monthly statements were sent to the borrower and that the borrower did not object to these statements. The mailing of the statement creates a presumption of receipt, meaning the court will assume that the borrower received the statement unless proven otherwise. The plaintiff may use business records, such as mailing logs or testimony from an employee familiar with the company's mailing practices, to prove that the statement was sent. Footnote: In account-stated claims, the plaintiff relies on evidence of mailed billing statements and a presumption that the borrower received them unless proven otherwise. Defending against an account-stated claim. There are several common defenses you can raise to contest an account-stated claim. Payment or prior settlement. If you have already paid the debt or settled it, you can use this as a defense. Objection to the statement. If you objected to the statement when you received it, this can defeat the claim. Fraud, mistake, or error. If the billing statements contain errors or fraudulent charges, you can use this as a defense. Standing or ownership of the account. If the junk debt buyer cannot prove that they legally own the debt, they may not have the right to enforce the claim. Statute of limitations. If the debt is too old, the statute of limitations may bar the lawsuit from proceeding. Footnote: Common defenses to account-stated claims include proving payment, showing an objection to the statement, identifying fraud or errors in the billing, questioning the plaintiff's standing, and invoking the statute of limitations. Proving fraud, mistake, or error. If the plaintiff has proven that they mailed the statement and that there is an unpaid balance, you can still win by proving that the statement contained fraud, a mistake, or an error. This could include charges for services not rendered, errors in the calculation of the debt, or fraudulent activities such as identity theft. If you have proper documentation and can provide credible testimony, you may be able to defeat the account-stated claim by showing that the charges were not legitimate. Footnote: Fraud, mistake, or error in the billing statement can serve as a valid defense if you can provide credible evidence to support your claims. The importance of standing or ownership of the debt. When a junk debt buyer sues you for an account-stated claim, they must prove that they have the legal right to enforce the debt. This is because the junk debt buyer is not the original creditor and may not have an agreement with you regarding the terms of the debt. To prove standing, the debt buyer must show that the debt was properly transferred from the original lender to them and that they are legally entitled to collect on the debt. If they cannot prove this, the court may dismiss the case. Footnote: a junk debt buyer must prove that they legally own the debt and have the right to collect on it in order to succeed in an account-stated claim. Statute of limitations defense. The statute of limitations for most debt claims is 4 to 5 years, depending on the type of debt. If the debt is too old, you can use the statute of limitations as a defense. To invoke this defense, you must prove the date the debt was incurred and when the lawsuit was filed. If the debt was incurred beyond the statutory time period, the court may dismiss the case. However, it is important to note that junk debt buyers often file lawsuits within the statutory period, so this defense is not always applicable. Footnote: the statute of limitations can bar debt collection lawsuits if the debt is too old, typically 4 to 5 years. What to research before court. Before going to court, it is crucial to familiarize yourself with the relevant laws and court rules. The evidence code is governed by statutes, which includes the hearsay rule and exceptions for business records. Additionally, if you are involved in a small claims case, you will need to understand the small claims rules. Researching these rules and relevant case law will help you prepare for court and ensure that you understand your rights and the procedural requirements. Footnote: researching the evidence code, small claims rules, and relevant case law will help you prepare effectively for court.